Yes, hello my friends. It is a beautiful day, day 2 on the road, and we've got some updates in the United States House of Representatives. I read through 2 different letters today, 2 people throwing their hats into the ring for the Speaker of the House. We know Kevin McCarthy no longer with us, and some new people now may join in on the fight. And so I read through 2 of them, one from our good friend Jim Jordan and the other one from Steve Scalise, and he's from LA. And so Jim Jordan's letter I thought was clearly the better of the 2. Big fans of Jordan. He's a wrestler. He is on the Judiciary Committee. He's somebody who leads a lot of the oversight work into the Biden crime family. And his letter was pretty good. It was very short, 1-pager. And I'll put the links in the description if you want to read the full thing from their X accounts. But it was good. He talked about open borders. He talked about free speech, about Biden's economy, a lot of the usual things, but he mentioned some of the stuff that we've covered, like the Catholics being persecuted and some of the problems that have been caused by the FBI, although he didn't actually mention the FBI by name, and I was paying close attention to this to see if they would talk about the DOJ or the Attorney General or, you know, the topics, the themes that we discuss on the channel, whether we were going to hear any of that language mirrored in these letters to the other members of the House. And so to back up on that, that's what these letters are, right? These are Jim Jordan and Steve. They're sending these messages to the rest of their Congress men and women so that they can make their decision about who to support. So Jordan's went out to the rest of the Republicans. He talks about a couple things I used as quotes were the constitutional oversight of the federal bureaucracy. That's what Jim Jordan is going to be focusing on, and I think that is critically important because the federal bureaucracy, if that is being used as a cudgel against your political opponents, or if the Constitution is being violated, or if the DOJ is being weaponized, right? These things are critical issues that mean that the rest of the country cannot function if those base layer mechanics are not in performance. So Jordan uses language like that, right? The federal bureaucracy, and then we can compare and contrast that against Steve's. And so I like that quote. He also talked about, again, with kind of general language, oversight and holding the administration accountable. So oversight, obviously we spent a lot of time on that. Judiciary, House Ways and Means, and the actual oversight committee itself with James Comer, subject of a lot of the letters and the things that we read on the channel. So all very good. You know, the downside, as we mentioned in yesterday's video, is that we would lose Jim Jordan, and we like Jim Jordan. You know, Jim Jordan is very aggressive, I'd say, and he threads the needle very well, I think, between both sides of the right, and he can be supportive of Kevin McCarthy, but not lose support of the other side of the party because of his oversight work, because he's very aggressive. He's all over the media, hitting back against the Biden crime family. He's aggressively sending letters. And so you kind of have faith that maybe he's earned it, right? He's etched enough in his timeline that we can trust him as Speaker to not let up on those issues. And that is really the big issue that I'm concerned about, is that something is going to happen with these investigations, right? Some deal will come to fruition that will turn all this hard work, all of the, you know, Comer investigation, all of this good progress into nothingness, and don't want that to happen at all. And when big explosions happen and everybody starts looking over here, everybody gets distracted. Oh, Biden, what's going on? You know, there is no more Biden investigation because now it's all about the circus that's going on in the Congress. So read that letter. Jim Jordan, I thought very short, kind of pithy, 1 page, and it covered everything that we like to see. Now you compare that against Steve Scalise, or Scalise, however you prefer to say it, and you can see some of the conference people outside enjoying the day. And so Scalise, he dropped his letter out, and it was a 2-pager, and it was a little bit longer. Now, Steve is from LA, and he's got a lot of experience. He's been in Congress for a long time. And we know that being in Congress, I think, gives you an understanding of the mechanics, right? And I know they come out and they talk to us about what's appropriate in Congress and how the mechanics work, and they tell us one thing in front of the cameras, but then they go behind the cameras and do their backroom deals, right? This is kind of the congressional meme. It's like, okay, well, they just tell us that and they go lie, and we always wake up and there's always money, right? How do we know that? It's because there is always money. There's always a debt crisis or some crisis, and then whoa, we fast forward and there's a whole solution all of a sudden, and everybody gets paid. Just like what happened the last 50 times we've talked about it. So we get kind of, irritated, like that's part of the problem. But at the same time, it's a precarious body, and this is kind of how it has been for a long time, and I think it can be a little bit dangerous to just throw out the institution and the traditions of an institution. There's this idea that things that have been around a long time and in operation for a long time have value just by virtue of the fact that they're still around. So you can say that our Congress has been around for a couple hundred years, and there's traditions and norms in there, and there's gives and takes and ebbs and flows and public and front stage, backstage stuff. You can say maybe that's just the way that human society has to work, and there's gears and there's promises made and promises broken and all this stuff. So there might actually be some value in that, right? And one analogy to that idea would even come from practicing law. Like, you can know the law. You can go to the best schools, you can go to the best tutors and have the best, everything. But until you get into the court and you meet the prosecutor and you meet the judge and you get a feel from the cops, you don't really know exactly what you're going to be facing, right? So there's experience that matters. So long story short, Steve has some experience. He's from Louisiana, and he has experience. He was the majority leader, the whip, and he did the same thing that we saw from Jordan and others. They come out with the first paragraph just bashing the Biden crime family, which I think is a very, very good tactic, largely because it's all true. But he was talking about the usual things, right? The border, the fentanyl, the budget, the economy, all of the same stuff that we're very familiar with. And then again, I was looking almost like a filter, searching for these things, for what his take was on FBI, DOJ, Attorney General, the weaponization of the budget, of the federal government, and how this is being deployed. And I didn't see much of that. I saw parental bill of rights, he said. Now, he did say this in his letter, that was quite good. He said that, don't forget, I got shot for you guys. It's true, he got shot at that baseball game. And he made mention of that. He said, I think Congress is a family and we all should be here supporting each other. You guys saved my life when I was almost dead. You guys came through, and so don't forget that, America. I took a bullet for you. And it's an interesting, insertion there. And I think it's true. He did take a bullet, and he is a fighter, and that is a good thing, right? So why wouldn't you call attention to that? But as I was reading through the rest of it, I really didn't see much mention of the FBI or the Biden crime family or the investigation, or you compare and contrast that to Jim Jordan, and his statements were more talking about the oversight, talking about the federal bureaucracy and stuff like that. So I'm very keyed in on that. I know you are too, because if there's some deal that's made and some people just agree, like for example, Ken Buck will say, I'll support you, Steve, if you drop this impeachment stuff because there's no evidence, blah, blah, blah. You can feel how that might happen, and that makes me nervous. So I'm hopeful that that does not happen, and I am excited to see that Jim Jordan has thrown his hat into the ring, because I do think that he would be a good add as the speaker because of his ability to kind of balance both sides there. But we would lose him on the Judiciary Committee, and that would be a bummer. So the question is, who would replace him? And I think we've got a pretty good bench there in the Republican side, and there are other lawyers there. Somebody else on Judiciary could just bump up. So all in all, I think it's actually a good development. I was also a little concerned that Jordan would not be interested in it, because he was pretty much a McCarthy loyalist. He was saying that McCarthy was great and doing a good job and had all the skills to balance the ebbs and flows. And so I think he was kind of in a state of mourning almost, sort of throw your hat in the ring after that develops, might feel like not a good experience to do something if your friend, just had his whole career ripped out from under him. And you're like, I'm ready and willing to serve for the Speaker of the House. Third in line to the President, right? It goes President, Vice President, Speaker. So, interesting times, and of course, things are developing rapidly. And somebody else threw their name into the ring, or had his name thrown into the ring, none other than Donald Trump, baby, which is a fun thought experiment. I don't think it's anything that's actually realistic or practical, because again, I think all that would do is probably, and this might be a good thing, is just freeze Congress, right? If you thought Congress was dysfunctional now, just wait till the Democrats have Speaker Trump in there. It's like, oh gosh, they might insurrect Congress themselves, which could be a fun experiment. So I do like it as a thought experiment, but there is some serious wind coming here too. We're walking down, we're gonna have dinner. But it is a fun thought experiment with Trump, and timing is of the essence here. Because remember, we just kicked down via continuing resolution a spending decision. And so that's going to be coming back very soon. And they're going to have to revisit that. So if there is no speaker and there's no normal order in the House, that could be a problem for the budget and the spending and Ukraine and where all the money needs to go. So Trump for speaker? Why not? Let's go. It would be fun. But in all reality, I think somebody like Jordan has a much better chance of actually driving home some results. And that's really what we want. So, my friends, it's going to be exciting times ahead. Looking forward to seeing what comes out of it. Because no matter where you side on what happened, I think we can all agree that Congress was largely dysfunctional. So as long as what comes out of here is something that is directionally right, we can stay optimistic and positive. And if somebody like Jordan's at the helm, that's good news. So, had a great day at the conference today, my friends, and got to meet in person Emily Baker, the one and only, and Peter Tragos, lawyer on YouTube. So, met them. Emily Baker gave a great talk on community and building a community and staying connected and delivering value and fostering that connection. It was very, very good. So I got to meet with her afterwards, say hello, and then Peter and I are going to be grabbing some dinner and hanging out. So we're still on the road for a couple more days. We'll be back soon, but I hope you are having yourselves a beautiful and incredible week, and I'll see you on the next one.